one of the first things you're likely, the information that you need is what do they want the system for, I suppose.
Yeah.
And that's going to be whether it's just for a garden system, just irrigating, lawns, things like that, washing cars, or do they want to take the water back into the house, use it for the toilets, maybe the washing machine, that kind of thing.
Right.
There are different types of tanks. You've got like your Carat tank here. Now that tank basically comes in two halves and is then put together. The beauty of this is if you've got a few tanks going to the same place, they can all be stacked up on one pallet.
Right.
Yeah. And then, so they'll...
so you go inside each other like that.
That's right, yeah. So, I mean, you can send sort of the smaller tanks, you'll get sort of 7 on a pallet, all going to the same site, rather than a Platin tank like this, which is going to take up a lot more room, cost a lot more to get the product there. They all come with sort of installation guides, that sort of thing, but basically this tank has a rubber seal that goes in here. It then gets clipped together with various clips around the outside. That'll be easier to see later on when we get outside. We then have, each tank then has its own dome, which is where all the pipe work comes into, both from the sort of water coming from the roof and then also from the pump to go off to garden taps, whatever. And then they all have a telescopic lid then, that then you can set to your ground level basically.
So how big, just to get an idea of scale, how big is, say, that? Is it
okay, so the smallest one of these is 2,700 litres.
Yeah.
And the dimensions of that, the tank is probably about the width of this table.
Right.
Probably just a bit shorter than the length, and height-wise it's 1.4 metres deep. That's that main part. Then you've got 600ml there, and then 300ml of lid, basically.
Yeah, we have all the lids and everything down the shed, so you'll see it in the actual.
The biggest one of these is 6,500 litres. Again, looks exactly the same, just on a bigger scale. And then, if you want to then start collecting more water, then you basically just link these tanks together, to create a bigger tank. And that's the same with these other tanks as well.
So how would that work with it pumping between the tanks?
What happens is you've got these areas just here and here.
Yeah.
These get drilled out and a seal put in.
Right.
And then there'll just be a 4-inch underground pipe linking that tank to the next tank.
Right.
All the water. What you tend to do when you're linking tanks is you'll have one tank like this with a lid on it, and then the other tanks will basically be 2 bottom halves. So rather than having a hole in the top, that will be a sealed tank. So each then extension tank is completely sealed.
Right.
The water comes into this dome and out of this dome, so then all the others will kind of fill. There'll be a pipe at the top, pipe at the bottom, so they'll all fill at the same time, basically.
Right.
Yeah?
Yeah.
With regards to tank, these tanks here, as I say, good to get onto site. Thing with these is it's quite a much deeper excavation.
Right.
So typically a tank, the smallest tank, you're probably going to have to dig down sort of 2.5 metres.
Right.
Once you get up to the bigger ones, you're sort of digging down about 3 metres. Which means you've got to excavate a bigger area because of the depth you're going down, and you need a bigger machine for that kind of thing. The
space to be able to move the soil and all that kind of thing. So
that's right. So that's where the shallow tank is a lot simpler to install, I'd say. Basically, the depth of these doesn't change much. The principle is exactly the same. The dome on these is built into it. So what you'll find is there's a kind of an inlet and an outlet, and you can either bring your pipework round to the right hole or think about which way round you're installing your tank. Lid is exactly the same lid, and both tanks come with two different types of lid. There's a pedestrian lid and a vehicle loading lid, and it just depends where it's going as to which lid you need. With these, the depth of the tank doesn't change much. It's just the kind of size of the tank, and you'll see when we get outside that you can see the difference. So, sort of the principle is all your downpipes from your roof go underground into a 4-inch pipe. They then all come together before entering the tank.